Hello and welcome to another episode of the James Granström Podcast Super Soul Model Series. And today's episode is the push and pull of life, how to transmute pain and turn it into possibility. That's what's the most important thing here, is how can we transmute some of the challenges and pain that we're facing and turn it into something better. Essentially, the push of life is when you're trying to build enough and gather enough momentum so that the pull will take you where you want to end up. But you've got to do enough pushing to start with before that huge boulder gets moving. And once it gets moving, then that pull begins to happen, the momentum begins to happen. It's a bit like the law of attraction starts working for you, but you have to do the groundwork first. You have to build the foundations. You have to do enough pushing to move in the direction that you want to go before it takes you there with a little bit more ease. You've got to create enough force before the flow begins. And the force comes through daily action. It comes through baby steps. It comes through knowing what your why is. And that's exactly what I want to get into today. It's quite close to my heart, this topic, because this topic is really what's happening right now with me. What's happening right now with me is I'm building a health and well-being business so that I can help transform other people's lives and improve my own, because this is something I'm really passionate about: health, well-being, meditation, giving people the right tools, the right practical things that they can take away with, and of course tapping into my own experience, because this is something that I live on a day-to-day basis and it thrills me to uplift other people. But what I'm doing is I currently right now I'm in the push phase of life. I'm pushing, which means I'm building the force, I'm building the momentum, I'm building through consistency and doing these podcasts every week enough energy, enough momentum so that eventually it will pull me. And it is already beginning to pull me through the consistency that I've built. However, it still feels like I'm in that beginning growth phase, that push phase. So that I'm being driven by the force of my why. My why is that I'm wanting positive change. My why is I'm wanting to feel even more creatively filled. I'm wanting to attract even greater abundance. I'm wanting to attract even greater opportunities for myself. And I'm wanting to help uplift other people in the process. And what a total win-win situation that is, which is why I want to get up in the morning and create more content, and why I want to create new podcasts every week. This is all part of my why, which fuels my push, which fuels my growth, which will eventually get the pull. Joe Dispenza said it best on one of his Instagram videos that I saw recently. I saw Dr. Joe probably about 10 years ago in London on You Are the Placebo. And he said something like, you've got to have a vision that's strong enough that you want to get up every day and work towards it in some kind of way. And eventually, when you become addicted to those new feelings that it gets, that pull will come. Now, that's exactly what I'm wanting to share with you here, but my little different take on it is the baby steps along the way. And I'm going to give you some of the baby steps that I'm doing currently that I know will eventually draw me to where I want to go. But I'm enjoying the process of where I'm going. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the growing. I'm enjoying the adventure and the new things that I'm discovering about how to market myself and how to share content and how to deliver great content. And, you know, every time that I'm stepping and creating new content, I'm building, I'm growing, and I'm pushing in that wonderful new direction. So where are you in life? Where are you right now? Where are you right now, and where do you want to go? Can you have a why that's big enough? Are you wanting positive change so you can move from pain to possibility? The pain is usually I'm not satisfied where I am right now. And obviously during COVID, or if you're listening to this post-COVID, you'll be thinking, wow, where am I right now? I want to have a better job, or I'm not satisfied with the money I'm making, or I'm dissatisfied in this relationship. I want more. So you've got to kind of demand more from yourself. You've got to know what your why is so you can move from that painful state or that dissatisfied state and move towards possibility. But when you know your why, you're going to realize that will fuel you. But then you've got to start taking the baby steps, which is the push factor. And those baby steps that you take help create that momentum, which pushes the boulder, which eventually get rolling. Now, the key word here is, in everything that I'm sharing on the Super Soul Model series and on this podcast, is the consistency you have in creating excellent little habits and rituals that you do over and over again build the momentum, which create the push, which eventually creates the momentum, which is the law of attraction getting to work for you, which is the pull factor. We all want to get to the pull factor, but we've got to start by doing the push. It's a bit like giving birth. You know, think of the process of like what it takes from conception through to growing in the womb, through to the mother pushing and having contractions to get the little one out, the little baby out, and then eventually it gets pulled out. It's that whole process of birth. In order to create birth, there's so many things that need to fall into place, but it doesn't happen immediately. It takes time. And that gestation period is very much like life. So whenever you're wanting positive change and you're wanting to transform, you're wanting positive transformation, you're wanting new things to come into your life, you have to remember there's a gestation period that occurs. Anything that bubbles up and blows up too quickly will pop. Think of markets, think of economic markets. Anything like a bubble that goes and blows up too quickly will have a louder pop. You want things to gestate, you want things to take time. And as you are regular and as you are consistent in creating wonderful habits, doing something daily towards what it is you're working towards, that's when the pull factor will kick in, and that's when life really becomes exciting. So transformation is possible when you go from pain to possibility, when you realize what your why is. And the growth period, of which I'm going through right now with my business, sometimes feel like it's uncomfortable. It feels like I'm being stretched because I'm doing loads of new things. I'm building content, I'm doing more videos, I'm creating more podcasts, I'm creating more quotes. You know, everything that I'm doing is kind of fun for me, but at the same time, it's causing me to reach within myself and sometimes learn new aspects of the business that I'm moving into right now that is uncomfortable because I don't know about it. And suddenly you get these doubts and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? Am I actually doing the right thing? Because when you don't know what you're doing, you sometimes get the fear and it kind of like just stops you. And then what you realize is you go back to your old default setting, and your old default setting is keep me safe, keep me sound. You know, that's like that part of ourselves that just wants to keep you nice and safe, keep your ego nice and safe so you're nice and comfortable. And that's really what happened in my previous relationship. It was like I got too comfortable with what is, and I didn't really stretch myself. And because of that, the relationship fell apart. But it was also a blessing in disguise, because what it did was it allowed me to stretch myself to go, hang on a minute, this could be so much better. I could be so much better. And in the process, you stretch yourself, you go through the growth, you go through the push, and then eventually the pull will come. Because what's inevitable is once you realize that sometimes the growing aspect and the learning and the applying and the baby steps can be kind of challenging, a little bit painful, because that's kind of the growing pains, because you're learning so much new information, it's making you feel uncomfortable. It's all this part of that stage of growth, or the push. What that's doing is it's just helping you build foundation. And as night follows day, the pull will bring you forwards. And that's basically when the momentum kicks in. And that's when life becomes a lot easier, because there's much more momentum. So any business that's taken time to build and been very, very successful has had a wonderful gestation period as throughout that growth. Apple's a great example, because it started with the iMac, then it went on to the iPod, then it went on to the iPhone. You know, amazing analogy for you to understand that whole process of Apple stock soaring from 1985 onwards is all based on understanding the growth period. Very much like any successful company, or anybody who's looking to change a relationship, looking to better a relationship, you have to grow. Relationships are best when people are growing together, not growing apart. So as long as your values are in check with one another, you're going to grow. And that's what's really important here. Realize that what's worthwhile is your growth. What's worthwhile is the learning. What's worthwhile is you expanding, because it's so easy to be comfortable. Your ego just wants to keep you safe. But that real aspect of you, that fragment of light of which you are, that particle of that light beam that you are, that dancing stardust that you are, that you've come forward from the unseen, that aspect needs to shine, and it won't shine if you're just kept safe. If I look at it from another perspective, think of yourself like the tennis players. Look at the Roger Federer, the Nadals, the Djokovic's. The rivalry has helped them get better and better and better. You know, Roger was at the height of his game, and then suddenly Rafa Nadal turns up and he has to adapt his forehand because Rafa's forehand oscillates and bounces so much higher. So Roger had to change his forehand because of Rafa Nadal. So he became a better player because he was now getting beaten by Rafa, who, you know, had a different forehand to the other guys he's playing. So you don't want to just plateau and feel comfortable when you think you're at the top of your game. You need to constantly keep adjusting. You need to constantly keep growing in order to get that push factor going, because that push factor is constant in order for you to excel. Life is meant to be phenomenal, but it requires growth, freedom, growth, and joy. The freedom so that you can be who you are in the world and share your talents and abilities. The growth so you can grow and learn the lessons that you need in order for you to fulfill your mission. And the joy is a byproduct of all that creative fulfillment and satisfaction. I remember looking at an article from Steve Jobs. He kept on saying something like, and maybe it was Steve Wozniacki as well, the co-founder of Apple with Steve Jobs. They were saying something like, the greatest fulfillment I found was that someone enjoying my creativity and paying me for it. That was such satisfaction. And that's essentially what we are like. You know, we need to learn to grow, and it's the creativity from our growth and from the joy that we're experiencing that really benefits other people. But it especially not only benefits them, it benefits you. That personal creative fulfillment, that personal creative satisfaction, that occurs because you've gone through that stage of push and pull, like pushing that boulder so it gets the momentum. Now, one thing that's always inevitable in life is change. Change will always be occurring, very much like the seasons. Life will be changing, the seasons will be changing, no day will be identical. The winds are always moving, the sun is always rotating, the moon is always moving, everything is always moving. So that means that things are always growing and dying. But the key thing that you need to know here in this push and pull factor and transmuting pain from possibility is knowing that when you're consistent, what that means is that you're moving in the right direction. And when you're not consistent and you're sporadic, what happens is that there's not much growth, there's sporadic growth. So in order to get the best out of life, you just need to be consistent. Be consistent with your rituals, be consistent with your habits, be consistent with creating amazing new habits, and things will just find a way to gather momentum. That is the easy way. Now, before you get there, you're going to have to go through this period, and this is the one part of it that I found challenged by it, which was, how bad do you want change? I remember Tony Robbins saying, it's only when you experience so much pain will you change. And, how bad do you want change? How bad do you want it? I mean, it's only when you go through to that level of pain where you've either broken up in a relationship, or you've had a financial difficulty, or you've had a health problem, do you really want to go, do you know what, I need to change now because whatever I'm doing is not working. And so when that pain, which is emotional, exists within you, then you realize you're going to go, I'm going to do something different. Your life will only take off when you start taking baby steps in the direction of where you want to go. There's a really lovely quote that I love, and it just says, follow your own star. Now, you may not know exactly what you want or where you're going, But you need to move in a direction that at least excites you, that at least gives you a sense of growth and expansiveness. And if you move in that direction, you will find your way. You need to move rather than stay static and stay comfortable. You need to grow rather than just stay the same, because if you're not growing, you're going to be withering and dying. And that is one of the purposes of our life, to be able to grow and expand and fulfill our mission for being, which is to feel so much joy in what we're doing and what we're bringing to the table of life. Life in itself is pulsating through your veins right now, and it is guiding you, but you need to be able to show up. You need to challenge yourself. You need to grow. You need to expand, because if you don't, you just feel like you are existing. And it's not just about existing, it's about fulfillment. And fulfillment is basically what is the outcome of the push and pull of life. You need to feel creative fulfillment. You need to feel personal fulfillment, because otherwise, what's the point? Why have a lick of the ice cream cone when you could have the whole ice cream cone? You want to have the whole taste and experience of life, and you need to do that by pushing yourself, by challenging yourself so that you can improve. It's so funny that life, just has a switch in which you can just switch off and feel comfortable. But I personally find that the most dangerous space to be, when you're just too comfortable. That's the time where you've got to go, right, I feel that life's a little bit comfortable right now. I've got to mix it up. Think about mixing life up regularly. Do you go the same way to work every day? Mix that up. Do you hang out with the same friends all the time? Mix that up. Are you eating the same foods every day? Mix that up. Go to the supermarket, get something else. Keep switching things up. Keep your mind alive. Keep your choices new and fresh, because otherwise you're never experiencing, some diversity. You're never experiencing contrast. You need to keep experiencing new things to keep it fresh and exciting. That's why it's so fun to go abroad and go to a new place and have a new adventure. When you keep doing the same things over and over again, they become a bit dull, and you know what's going to happen. We as humans love certainty. We love to know that this is what's going to be. Yes, that is to a certain point so helpful, but you also need to enter the unknown. And entering the unknown is where you really start to tap into fulfillment, when you really begin to transmute that pain that you may have been feeling, which is dissatisfaction, to finding fulfillment. Fulfillment is where we want to go. Just keep that in the back of your mind, and you'll know you'll be headed in that right direction. Life is always guiding you. And the more you sit still, the more you're able to listen to life, listen to the messages that your life whispers in the silence. Then you'll know you're getting this push to go in this direction. And then eventually, if you're taking the baby steps every single day, you're going to be pulled in that direction. Very much like what's going on with me in this podcast, and what's going on, in building the health and well-being business. But where is it happening for you? Where are you being guided towards? What is life pushing you towards? Is it pushing you towards a new career? Is it pushing you towards, perhaps, taking better care of your body, taking better care of your health? Is it helping? Is it pushing you towards wanting to, for sure, meditate a bit more? Or is it pushing you towards maybe changing a relationship if your one's not fulfilling or satisfying right now? All of these things are important for you to understand, but you cannot get from A to B without sitting still and listening to the messages that life is sending you, because it's super, super important that you're listening to these internal messages, because when you do, you'll know you'll be silently be pushed in this direction. Life is always guiding you, and when you begin to listen to the messages that life is giving you, then you can start taking action. And sometimes you just get this feeling inside your body like, I know I need to be doing something different, and I know it needs to be different from maybe this job that I'm doing. But as long as you have that sort of urge, those feelings coming up inside your body, I know I need change, but I don't know where to go. That is the first start, where maybe you start listening to new information, you start picking up a book. The key thing is to move in a direction that lights you up. Think of it like a rocket, the push and the pull. a rocket will leave the Earth and it creates such a profound level of resistance and G as it's exiting the Earth's atmosphere. That's very much like growth. That's like maybe starting a new job, maybe being independent, maybe starting a new job where you're self-employed or you're setting up your own business. It's like that growth period creates so much resistance because maybe you've got to create a lot of content, you've got to structure a new business, you've got to lay plans, you've got to create foundations, you've got to have the right financial things in place to serve you, you've got to make sure you've got the right product and service that you've got in place, you've got to have the right website, etc., etc., etc. This creates all that sort of resistance that is like the growth period of the rocket of you leaving the Earth's atmosphere. And once it's left the Earth's atmosphere, it's like it creates this beautiful, easier, less resistant space, and that's the momentum that pulls you where you want to go. And that's very much like anything in life. The key to life is really just creating more consistency in a direction that lights you up, that excites you, that fulfills you. Now, you might not know the whole story or the whole way that your vision is going to unfold. No one really knows that. But every little action you take that moves you in a direction that you want to go creates that pull. And that helps you create more fulfillment. It helps you create more excitement. It will create more joy. It will uplift other people because you'll be happier. Things will unfold in wonderful ways as you begin to move in the direction that you want to go, that lights you up. And that's really what this episode is all about today. It's about helping you light yourself up so you can move from the pain of where you are at, which is usually a sense of complete dissatisfaction, to satisfaction. And that journey is noticing what's already satisfying in your life whilst still taking baby steps in the direction of where you want to go. Now, if you don't know where you want to go just yet, just realize what you don't want and then flip it on its head. Realize what you do want, what you do like. And if you can think about the things that you do like, then you just move in that direction. The key thing is to understand what your skills and talents are, use them, and use them to help other people in the process. Life is about serving and helping other people. And as you are serving and helping other people, you in turn will find true creative fulfillment and satisfaction. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I hope there's been something in here for you that has allowed you to think, to realize that I can turn my pain into possibility. I can turn dissatisfaction into satisfaction when I move in the direction of an area that kind of excites me, it kind of lights me up. Anything that lights you up is a clue. For me, I thoroughly enjoy being able to talk. I thoroughly enjoy being able to share my ideas. I love to help save people time and grief through all the experience that I have, which is basically everything to learn about meditation, health, wellness, well-being, spirituality. All this I've been studying for so long. It's just been a personal experience, and I just want you to be able to tap into my knowledge, and so that it can at least propel you in the direction that you want to go, because anything that you can learn from somebody else will help guide you and make your life a lot easier. Is definitely something you want on board. We need each other. We need to tap into other people's experiences and skill sets so that we can start honing on our own, so that we'll do that for someone else in another capacity, in another way. So, look to what excites you, look to what lights you up. And that's the clue to go from that push factor of life to the pull factor of life. And then you're going to start having your own experiences too, as long as you remain consistent. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. Please DM me at James Granström if you've got any questions. On YouTube, please write below. Any questions, happy to write back. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, please like and share it with anybody who you think will benefit. And as always, I wish you green lights all the way.